Okay, this is the last lesson of the unit. So we're going to, it's also probably the longest video, just so you know. This is trig functions. So we're going to just be doing various things with some of the trig functions. Some of it's going to be familiar because it's very similar to what you did on the unit circle and some of the things that we've already dealt with. So we're going to go backwards a little bit, talk about a coterminal angle. So remember when you added 2 pi or subtracted 2 pi from the radians to get back to the reference, or not the reference angle, but the angle on the original position on the unit circle. So this is a rule for that. So basically it says that any trig function you can do that too. When they put k in here, it means like I could do 4 pi or 6 pi if we're trying to get, if we had really big or really small numbers. So, and what this means as far as a picture is concerned, I wanted to draw a picture to show you what this looks like. So that's my unit circle right there. If I had an angle, and it doesn't matter what the angle is, whether it's one that's on our unit circle originally or not, if we had an angle right here, this angle and this angle are the exact same thing. It doesn't matter that it's spun around. Okay, so this would be considered the reference or the original position for this angle. So continuing on with various ideas of reference angles and those things, this right here is a big chart that talks about different reference angles and different ways to find them. We're going to keep it pretty basic. I'm not going to use all of these different rules. We're just going to use the idea of 2 pi and finding the reference angle on the original circle. But if you want to look at it more in depth or do it in a little different way, there's more than one way to do this. So that's that. All right, continuing on. Example 1. We get there. Stayed on this page a little too long. Fast forward. There we go. Okay, so here's example 1. Now, this is to help us just kind of figure out if we're given a number, a random number, and we want to find out where it falls on the unit circle approximately. Okay, so you can use your calculator to find the radian in radian mode. Please make sure your calculator's in radian mode. And by the way, this is 11, not 0.11. All right. We're going to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of each one of them, of this one. And then we're going to identify what quadrant it falls in. And we can do that by looking at the positive and negatives. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to take the sine, cosine, and tangent of 11. So sine of 11 is -1. Okay, cosine of 11 is positive 0.0044. And tangent of 11 is negative 225.9508. Now, we're going to look at the sine, the cosine, and the tangent sign. So a sine is negative, cosine is positive, and tangent is negative. So when we look at what quadrants is sine positive, sine negative, and cosine positive and tangent negative, that's in the 4th quadrant. And we know that by that all students take calculus. Okay, so cosine is the only one positive in the 4th quadrant. So now here's your practice problem. Again, this is not a decimal, okay? This is -23 pi. Go ahead and do it first, and then I will explain the solution. So for -23 pi, we're going to take the sine, cosine, and tangent of all 3 of them. We're going to take all 3 trig functions. So sine of -23 pi is 0. Cosine of -23 pi is -1. And tangent of -23 pi is 0. Now, this is an interesting one because it's not in a quadrant. It's on an axis. So where does it fall on the axis? Well, the sine and the tangent are 0. So we know it's going to be on the x-axis. And the cosine is -1, so it's going to be at pi, if you think about the ordered circle, or the unit circle. It'll be at pi, not at 0. All right, so this one, we want to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of this number without using a calculator. We're going to use the exact same process we used before by adding or subtracting 2 pi. And then once we do that, we find the sine, cosine, and tangent using our unit circles. So we're going to go 17 over pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3. I'm not going to put the minus 2 pi on there first, so we want to get the reference angle. So apparently I felt we needed to discuss that more. So add or subtract 2 pi. It's positive, so we'll subtract it. So 17 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3 equals 11 pi over 3. Okay, and that's not on the unit circle, so we have to do it again. Minus 6 pi over 3 is 5 pi over 3, and that's on my unit circle. So now using my unit circle, I know that the sine of 5 pi over 3 is negative radical 3 over 2. And that cosine of 5 pi over 3 is positive 1/2. And that tangent of 5 pi over 3 is negative radical 3. Now onto your practice problem. Okay, you're going to do this as well. Go ahead and do the problem, and then I will explain the solution. All right, so with the solution, obviously 3 pi minus 2 pi is pi, so it's a fairly simple one to calculate. So sine of pi is 0, cosine of pi is negative 1, and tangent of pi is 0. Okay, last example, not quite as difficult as it appears. We're going to solve this problem without a calculator. Okay, don't use decimals, don't use approximations. We want to solve it using a single real number. So this is sine of pi over 6 times cosine of pi over 2 minus cosine of pi over 6 times sine of pi over 2. So we're going to find each one of these first before we actually do the multiplication. So, and you'll find that it will actually work out quite nicely. So sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of pi over 6 is radical 3 over 2. And sine of pi over 2 is 1. Now we're going to fill in our symbols there. So we're going to multiply 1/2 times 0 minus 3 over radical 3 over 2 times 1. And 1/2 times 0 is 0. Radical 3 over 2 times 1 is radical 3 over 2. So the answer is negative radical 3 over 2. See, it worked out quite nicely. Now here's your practice problem. Go ahead and pause. Oops. I messed up. I moved too far. I'm fine. We'll go forward. There we go. Okay. So, I don't know what the video is doing. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Okay. There we go. All right, so here's your practice problem. I'm sorry. All right, so with the practice problem, you're going to pause the video, do the practice problem, and then I'll explain the solution. So here's your solution. Cosine, we're going to write the problem down. So cosine 2 pi over 3 times cosine of pi plus sine of 2 pi over 3 times sine of pi. Okay. So cosine of 2 pi over 3 is negative 1/2. Cosine of pi is negative 1. Sine of 2 pi over 3 is radical 3 over 2. And sine of pi is 0. So that's going to be 0. So negative 1/2 times negative 1 is positive 1/2. So our solution is 1/2. And we will see you tomorrow.